What's up, YouTube? This is your girl, Queen Dwayne Red, which is Diva House of Queens TV. My queens and my kings. How you doing? Stay blessed. Be blessed. God loves you, and I also love you too. Those who are here for the first time, welcome. And my returning family, welcome back. The new viewers, watchers, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We family over here. We lit. You watching it anyways, might as well hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you get all of the content. Like the channel, hit the comment section if you like to, so we can get the conversation popping. Way the way it goes. Thank you, and thank you. So I don't know if you guys have heard about this tragic story of this young man. He's 26 years old. His name is Rogel Mederos. But this happened back in 2019 of April. So I don't know why this making rounds now, because it been happening, like I said, it happened in 2019, April 2019, of a truck driver in Colorado. He gets sentenced to 110 years, and social media have an outrage of this. And they want to say that the judicial system is the same, but it's not. It depends on your state, your race, maybe your gender. We do not know. But this is absolutely absurd. That this dude, 26 years old, he was not drunk. He was not under influence of a controlled substance. He caused the accident, yes he did, due to faulty brakes. Yes, he did not stop at the check system where they're supposed to check your weight of your truck and all this kind of stuff. I do not know if he owned the truck or not, or he was the truck where, because if you're a truck driver, my grandfather was, he owned his own truck. So everything that happened to that truck is on his own responsibility. But if he go to work and then he used their truck to transport whatever he transported, they want to say it's up to the job, or it's up to him to pre-drive like maybe a mile just to check everything out. When you carrying loads, like if you're going state to state or you just going local, it's not up to you, because your job description is to drive and drop off the product. You may want to take your job description an extra mile. Hey, but when you drive, they want you to get to that location at a certain time and come back. And being a truck driver is a major responsibility. You have an 18 wheel, and sometimes, like the people that drive state to state or whatever, they do get sleepy, and it has been a lot of accidents. But for this young man to get 110 years, I know those poor people cannot get their lives back, and I feel so sorry for those people. I really do. But 110 years, you act like this man was a drug dealer or a rapist, and I know y'all don't seen it and y'all don't heard it as well. People that have done shit worse than this man done got lesser time. So how could a judge allow this type of sentencing to be carried in his courtroom? Okay, I was sent this story by one of my family members, subscribers, whatever you want to call it. His Facebook name, LaDon Edmond. My brother that I love so much. But still, he's one of the part of the family. So I appreciate him for sending me over this content for me to do my video on. And I very appreciate it. So, when I begin sent over stuff to view, and they'll hit me back up and say, how come you ain't did a story on this, did that? Some stuff that y'all sent me over, I'm going to be honest, I don't feel comfortable doing it. It's not just I don't feel comfortable. it's just certain stuff that YouTube, I have to follow. This is a job. What I'm doing, some of y'all might think it's not a job, but we are content creators, YouTuber, journalists, whatever you want to call it. It's still a job. So you have a job, you have to follow the rules. So when it's not that I don't want to do it, sometimes I don't feel comfortable doing it, and also I have to follow YouTube guidelines. It's not that, oh, I'm picking my family member content over someone else. No, it's not like that, sweetie. Not at all. It's just, if it's going to break the guidelines, I can't do it. If I don't feel comfortable doing it, I'm not going to do it. And then when you reach back out to me and ask me how come I didn't do it, I tell you, it is what it is. So, I appreciate all the content that you guys send me. It's just, we have a job to do too. So it's not like I'm not minding you guys for sending me content. I appreciate it so much. Thank you all, people that do send me content and want me to do a video on it. I appreciate it. I do. I really do. I love you guys, and I thank you guys for sending me content. I just don't feel comfortable doing it, or it's going against community guidelines. So, anywho, this is a YouTuber, not a YouTuber, but a TikToker, done a video on this, and I love this. How they're gonna share. He gonna do his first. This young brother right here, and they're gonna jump into other people giving their opinion, and they're gonna compare this one brother. Well, he's not a brother. Some Caucasian dude. If y'all remember back in the day, he was, I think, a teenager. He went to a party with his friend, and he was already drunk. He had 7 people in his car, or a few people in his car, but he was so pissy drunk. He hurt, or I think he killed, I'm not sure, a lot of people besides the people that was in the car with him. And before I get started, I'm saying the K word or whatever. So if anybody is triggered by anything that I'm saying, I apologize. I did not put the disclaimer in front of the video. So I'm going to say it. And YouTube view this before we put it out. So they're hearing me say it. I'm giving you guys a disclaimer now. If you are triggered by anything that I'm saying in this content, please jump off and join me on another video. And I apologize if you are triggered by anything that I'm saying here. And if you don't want to continue listening, please jump off and jump on something else. So, like I was saying, he was from a wealthy family. And he did, he was pissy drunk, like I said. And he had killed a lot of people. The judge ordered him probation, counseling, and some other shit. I'm not sure if he went to jail or not. But the judge gave him probation, counseling, and said because he was so rich and wealthy, he was under so much stress with all that money. Man, I tell you. And this young brother right here, we don't know if he had a bad criminal history. It really doesn't fucking matter. He wasn't drunk. He wasn't under any kind of controlled substance. His brakes on a truck that he was driving failed. He tried to avoid everything he could possibly do until this accident happened. But for the judge to allow that sentence to be carried down, that's some fucked up shit. And so social media have an outrage, and they are trying to rally together to save this young man because he do not deserve to get 110 years. And nobody really live that long. Some people do. But for him to spend the rest of his life in jail, that's some fucked up shit. And that judge, whatever he was hovering that day, he probably was mad or whatever, and he took it out on this brother. He a punk ass bitch for that shit. And they need to just bar his ass, take his license from him. He shouldn't be working at nobody courthouse to hand down this type of sentence that was really not his fault. You can't tell that. I know you cannot tell that to the parents or whoever, the people that was killed. You can't just tell that to their family members. You cannot. But a thing's a thing. This was truly an accident. Like I said, this brother was not drunk, and he was not operating that vehicle with a controlled substance. He was not sleepy or tired. He just had some faulty brakes. But let's get into this because I've talked long enough, and y'all know your girl can talk. Your girl can talk. So, okay. Let's get into it.
A judge late today sentenced a truck driver whose out-of-control semi caused a fireball on I-70. And that young man could be spending the rest of his life in prison.
Ethan was throwing a party and he got severely wasted. He decided he was going to go drive to the store with his friends and put 7 other people in the vehicle with him. He blasted through the town of Burleson, Texas, and even when he came across an SUV that was stopped and people were standing around it, he plowed right through them, killing 4 people and injuring a lot more. Then he fled the scene, but he was apprehended and eventually went to trial about 2 years later. His attorney's entire defense was Ethan had been so sheltered by his very wealthy parents that he didn't have the concept of consequences, and therefore he was not guilty. Judge.
That's some bullshit right there. That's some bullshit. His wealthy parents could afford a good lawyer. And that blows my mind. It's not about what you know, what you can prove. It also plays in how much money you got. Because obviously, this fool is guilty on everything. He was clearly intoxicated. He was already drunk. He wanted to get drunker. If you're already drunk, how drunk the fuck you get? You're already drunk, intoxicated. You're fucking slurring your words and you're stabbing all over the fucking place. Ooh, let me go get in a car and drive to the liquor store and get something else to drink. And they want to say his privileged ass parents sheltered him so much that he did not have the consequences to hold himself accountable for the bullshit he do. So therefore, he was not able to go to jail because he was a privileged rich kid that killed these people. So I can get drunk, I can kill people. I'm just going to blame it on my rich parents for working their lives hard to earn the money they had. They had me. They gave me a good life. I wanted to waste it by drinking and doing drugs and kill people because I'm drunk and I want to continue getting drunk. So we're going to blame this on my wealthy parents. That's what I'm hearing. Is that what y'all hearing too, family? My queens and my kings? Because that's exactly what I heard.
Gene Hudson Boyd gave him 10 years probation and ordered him to undergo therapy at a long-term inpatient facility.
A lot of you don't know this, but I used to be a truck driver, professionally. And a lot of you guys directly sent me this and told me to talk about it, so I wanted to get into the situation. The lady on the left failed to stop for a school bus, resulting in the taking out of 3 kids. The man right here, while he was on the job, his brakes failed to work, and he ended up taking out 4 people, and he got 110 years. This lady got 4 years, he got 110 years. A lot of people think we have the exact same justice system. No, we do not. How you get prosecuted for situations or certain crimes differ depending on where you are and your race. And that's a fact.
Everyone's talking about the truck driver who was sentenced to 110 years in prison after his brakes went out on the highway and 4 people died.
We've been asked like 1,000 times to talk about this case, so let's figure out how the judge actually arrived at this sentence. Rogel, only in his early 20s at the time, was driving a large semi-truck in Colorado when his brakes failed while going downhill. Up ahead, traffic was stopped.
There were grassy medians on both sides as well as guardrails, and Rogel passed at least one runaway truck ramp, which is specifically designed for trucks who have brake issues.
But instead of using any of those avenues, he unfortunately plowed directly into traffic.
This resulted in a 28-car pileup. 4 people.
At trial, the prosecution argued that Rogel had noticed that something was wrong with his brakes and that he'd been driving recklessly beforehand.
So all of those facts are really bad. But how do they add up to 110 years in prison, which is more than most murderers get?
The answer? A combination of prosecutorial discretion and mandatory minimums. The The prosecution in this case charged Rogel with 41 different criminal counts,
many of which carried mandatory minimum sentences. Like it sounds, mandatory minimum means that there is a minimum amount of time that must be served if you're found guilty of this crime. There's no discretion to go lower.
Think about that situation. The prosecutor can choose which crime you are charged with, and all crimes do not have mandatory minimums. So if I rob a bank and you rob a bank and we rob a bank the exact same way, the prosecutor might prosecute my bank robbery different than your bank robbery. Let's say you had 30 people inside of the...
And that's what I'm saying. It was like a few years ago, me and my husband, maybe they won't even call it. We had it was like a heated debate because we was watching something on TV and I forgot what it was, but I was saying, how the hell did they get charged that much time in jail for this simple crime that they did? Now, I was telling him, I was saying, now, if someone in that state that I know, they did the exact same thing, and they did not get that amount of time. I don't get it, y'all. It's like he just said, you do the exact same crime, the exact same way, but y'all charges are different? I don't get it. Maybe I never will. Maybe it's not meant for me to get it. But that is so not right. And like I said, I'm not going to demise the family that the 4 people that died. You know, they lost their lives. But this was not his fault. The brakes, like I said, they had to meet him on the side of the road. He could have went that way or that way or however, but he didn't. He wasn't thinking. When his brakes went out, he was not thinking which way to go. He was really trying to get out the way, probably. He didn't know they had a long line up there. He was trying his best to stop that big-ass truck from possibly killing himself. And in the process, he killed 4 people. We get that. They're not coming back. Their families are distraught. But to give this brother 110 years, and like they said, you have fucking rapists and other people that did something worse than this dude did, and they don't even got that much time. We just seen him prior. This dude was drunk already. He wanted to get drunker. He didn't even get jail time. He got a pat on his back and said, "Go on, brother. Thanks for that check."
Room, right? And you don't get charged with holding anybody hostage. I might get that charge. And there's only the security guard and the person behind the thing. Think about that. Really sit back and think about that. So that means the prosecutor in the law can choose which crime you're getting prosecuted with. And there's no mandatory minimum for certain crimes you would get prosecuted with, or I would get prosecuted with. You get what I'm saying? That doesn't make any sense. Or it makes perfect sense. But why would you give some crimes mandatory minimums and not the other ones if they're the same crime? Or close to the same crime?
But there's another problem. Many of these crimes carry mandatory consecutive sentencing under Colorado law.
Sentences can either be served consecutively or concurrently. If your sentences run concurrently, then they all run at the same
So if you're found guilty of 3 different crimes with sentences of 5, 10, and 15 years, you'll serve 15 years.
and you're done. Alternatively, if you have consecutive sentences, that means that they run one after the other.
Those sentences of 5, 10, and 15 years, that turns into 30.
So what happened here? The prosecutor charged Rogel with a lot of different crimes. Some of those crimes had mandatory minimums, and they were mandatorily consecutive.
All this added up to a mandatory 110-year sentence. The judge in this case actually said that he wished the law had been different, but the way it was written, his hands were tied and the sentence had to be imposed. So what could have been done differently? Well, the prosecution could have charged differently.
At the time that they charged Rogel, they knew what these mandatory sentences were. They knew if he was...
The judge laid to...
My bad. That's a motherfucking lie. I forgot the dude's name. I know his name was, I think his name was Anthony. I can think he was from Alabama. From that town in Alabama, they were serving him a warrant It was a misdemeanor warrant. All the evidence it sought out that he did not do what they say he did. I don't want to get deep into this. It was 3 officers that was murdered. The person that did it confessed to it. They try to blame it on the Anthony guy. He couldn't do it. Even though they were serving a warrant to his sister's house at the time when they came in, the police seen him outside, and I guess they had a little altercation. He was pepper sprayed. So he was not able to see. Some people can see through that pepper spray, but he was not. And then people was lying and all that on a trial and all that kind of stuff. But what I'm trying to say is that when they had the trial, the juries they didn't find him not guilty. They found him guilty, but it was okay. They wanted the death penalty, so they found him guilty with life without parole. Right? Okay. The judge overturned that and put him for the death penalty. So the jury gave what they gave to the courts because they voted on it. He supposed to get life without parole. Spent his life in prison. The judge didn't like that shit. The judge overturned it and gave him the death penalty. So don't sit here and say that his hands was tied, Judge. It wasn't. You could have overturned that. Because at the end of the day, even if you do have a trial jury, you can overturn that statement or whatever. So don't sit there and lie in our face and talk about your hands were tied.
Anybody hostage, I might get that charge. And there's only the security guard and the person behind the thing. Think about that. Really sit back and think about that. So that means the prosecutor in the law can choose which crime with, and there's no mandatory minimum for certain crimes you would get prosecuted with, or I would get prosecuted with. You get what I'm saying? That doesn't make any sense. Or it makes perfect sense. But why would you give some crimes mandatory minimums and not the other ones if they're the same